Dear Diary. Hi, it's me again. I've been thinking a lot about the phrase healing journey and how it seems to infer there's a destination, even though I assume we all know that's not entirely the case. I think I've spent the better part of the last 3 years on a healing journey of my own, and it's been beautiful and emotional and illuminating, but this isn't a journey that ends when things magically make more sense, if they ever do. This is a journey that through time will just become a part of who I am. It's forever. When I say healing journey, there's some part of me that also says, well, what does that even mean? And I guess to me, my healing journey has meant a lot of things, all coming back to the idea of being more gentle and compassionate towards myself. Healing has been learning how to see crying and waves of sadness as being opportunities to learn about myself instead of things to wish away or feel embarrassed of feeling in the first place. Healing has been learning how to set boundaries that feel good and not allowing anyone to guilt me out of them. Healing has been taking more breaks, being alone more, seeking support in the form of therapists, sisterhood, and weekly trivia. I say all of this because even though I know that this healing journey is less a journey and more a destination in and of itself, there can be times that I start to feel sort of lost inside of self-optimization and New Year's resolutions, where maybe on my tougher days I start to feel like a self-improvement project that I just can't keep up with. And as I sit here writing this, I know that I'm not a robot, that I'll never be able to wish away all of my challenging emotions and reactions, and I'd be foolish to even want that in the first place. I am a sensitive, loving, compassionate woman, not a perpetual self-improvement project, and I want to make sure my healing journey treats me as such. Before I get too into the video, I want to introduce today's sponsor, which is our friends over at Scentbird. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service that allows you to try out different designer fragrances every month for just $17. When I had never spent money on an expensive perfume before, I tried out a bunch of them from Scentbird, and that's how I found my first 2 signature scents. Now I've got so many. I'm a perfume girly now. And that's really the beauty of Scentbird. If you have never bought an expensive perfume before, you want to invest, you want to level up your fragrance game, but you don't want to commit to buying that big price tag without testing it out a little bit first, Scentbird's gonna be perfect for you. So this is how they come, and this should last you about 30 days. So you'll have an entire month's worth of perfume to decide if this is your scent. So let's see what I got this month. First one I got is Silhouette by Christian Siriano. The main notes in this one are jasmine petals, amberwood, Madagascar vanilla, and cashmere musks. Next scent that I've got is Urban Rose by Skylar. The main notes of this one are pink pepper, lemon leaves, dewy violet, magnolia, and amber. And the last one that I got is Source One by Hermetica. And the main notes of this one are bergamot, dry amber, and fresh wood molecule. I'm gonna like this one. So if you're interested in trying out Scentbird for yourself, you can use my code Dragsbaek55 for 55% off your first order, which ends up coming out to about $8. So again, that's code Dragsbaek55 for 55% off your first order, and thank you again to Scentbird for sponsoring today's video.
Hello, hi, I missed you. My name is Maddie, for those of you that may have forgotten. I took a month-long break to reset my mind and take care of myself a little bit, but I'm back and I'm ready to make some videos for you guys. I wanted to kick the year off with a video about a topic that I've been thinking about a whole lot, always, but especially this time of year. The only New Year's resolution that I remember setting is when I was like 15 or so years old. I set a New Year's resolution to not cry. So, how do you think that went? And it's funny because it's ridiculous, but I also think that that sort of mindset exemplifies what a lot of New Year's resolutions end up being, which I think is just a little misguided and not very nice to yourself. Surface level, as a 15-year-old, you might think that not crying would solve your problems, and if you could just not cry, that you would be a happier person, live a better life. But the root of what I wanted was to be happier, was to feel more joy in my life, but I mistakenly thought that not crying would bring me that. And I think a lot of New Year's resolutions end up becoming that. Instead of choosing to set a goal that is compassionate and kind to ourselves, we set a goal like stop crying. You bitch. You big crybaby bitch. So today I kind of just wanted to talk a little bit about what goals I have for myself this year, how to set more compassionate goals for yourself, and also how to not see yourself as a perpetual self-improvement project, both in goal setting, but also when it comes to things like our healing journey, which are a little bit more abstract.
So I'm not really one for New Year's resolutions, and I'll talk a little bit more about why that is later. Also, if my hair looks nice and fresh and crisp and on my scalp, it's because it is. I just got it done yesterday, so it looks very right now. So what my friends and I do instead of setting resolutions is at the beginning of the year we pick a guiding word. Your word can be anything. You can pick multiple words. I've picked multiple words in the past, though this year I just picked one. So last year my words were vulnerability and alignment, because last year was the year that I was getting back into the dating pool again. Sorry, it's so fucking windy. I also started therapy again. In January of last year, I knew that I wanted to have a year that was all about allowing myself to show up as my most vulnerable self, and feeling confident doing that. I talked a lot in my videos around that time about how I had always felt like I was too much, that I was just too emotional, too sensitive, and I felt really bad about those parts of myself. And last year was all about saying, absolute the fuck not. You will not feel bad for feeling what you fucking feel. So say it and be that person and invite more vulnerability into your life. And that's exactly what I fucking did. And it was a great year. And then this year, my guiding word is pleasure, because this year I really want to focus on bringing in more rest and balance into my life. And I just want to enjoy what I have more. I think I felt a lot of stress last year, and sometimes I get so consumed by to-do lists and checking things off and being productive that I don't enjoy my life. And I would like to enjoy my life. And though I've never been a huge fan of New Year's resolutions, goal setting has been a huge part of my life for the last 2-3 years. I find that goal setting for me has actually just been sort of like a dreaming tool. It's helped me get super dreamy about what I want out of life, get clear on what I want out of life, but whether or not I hit those goals is really not the end of the world. In fact, most of my goals don't really have time limits on them. They're just things I would like to accomplish in this lifetime. And maybe I'll set it as a goal for 2023 because I think that maybe I can do it this year. But if it doesn't, then it just rolls over to the next year and it's no big deal. And I think this is where my guiding word really becomes helpful, because it's not really about checking things off a to-do list, right? It's not really about saying, I did all of these things this year and look at me, I'm so accomplished, I did everything. It's more about chasing a feeling. It's about picturing how you want to feel, what you want to prioritize, and setting goals to help you get closer to that feeling, to prioritize that feeling in your day-to-day life. So with my guiding word this year being pleasure, a lot of my goals are actually surrounded upon rest, taking time for myself, going out with my friends more, and like doing things to help nourish my creativity and be gentle with myself. So they're not necessarily goals in the typical sense of like, you know, I'm not setting goals like I'm gonna go get fucking swole at the gym 3 days a week. Those aren't the goals that I'm personally setting for myself, but it's nothing that's like, you have to accomplish this by this day, and if not, you're a fucking failure. I don't find that helpful towards achieving anything personally. I'm not setting goals to punish myself with them. I'm setting them to help get clearer and closer to how I want to feel in my day-to-day life. And speaking of how I want to feel in my day-to-day life, I have a therapy call in 3 minutes. And Miss Olivia is about to get an update on a date that I went on last week. So let's go. It is so windy out today. I picked a bad day to film outside, but what can you do? So one of my goals that I have for the year is that I want to hit 50 episodes on the podcast. I think we're at like 20. I think we ended last year on 20. I really enjoy making the podcast. It's been very creatively fulfilling for me, but also it's so different than the YouTube stuff. So it's a nice little break, switch up to my routine, which I have really enjoyed. I have a lot of goals surrounding the podcast, but I think the overarching thing is just that I want to make more of it. I want to prioritize it more. I want to spend more time on it just because it makes me feel so good and I feel so excited to make the episodes. Numbers aren't that important to me. Obviously, I have to care a little bit because it's my job, but I do it because I love it. And so I'd love to keep doing it more, and 50 episodes seems like a nice solid number to aim for by the end of the year. So last year, one of my goals for myself was to read 50 books, which I did not end up completing. And I have a reading goal for this year as well. I like setting reading goals. I think it just encourages me to nourish my habit of reading and, you know, keep on the pursuit of knowledge, or the dirtiest smut I can find. But I wanted to talk about this because I really want to emphasize how totally unimportant it is to not hit your goals. Goals should be fun. So my goal was to read 50 books, and I knew that that was a steep goal and that it probably wasn't gonna happen, but it was a nice round number and I liked it. Halfway through the year, I ended up decreasing my goal to 30 because that appeared to be more realistic, and I didn't even hit 30. I think I ended the year on like 28. So I was close, but I absolutely did not hit 30 books last year. Let me tell you right now, I don't feel bad about not hitting my 30 book goal. I tried. I gave it a good old-fashioned try, and I just didn't do it. It didn't happen. But the point of setting my reading goal was not to read 50 books, right? The point of the goal itself was not just surface level what the goal was. The point of the goal was to read more, was to introduce reading as a habit in my life. So whether or not I hit 50 books doesn't really matter because the habit was still developed. I read a lot last year. I read consistently last year. It wasn't 50 books, but I read a lot. I created a habit out of reading, and that was the point of the goal. And I think that has been really helpful to me, to keeping this playful, to keeping goal setting as something that is fun and makes me feel good and not something that's like, get to work, study up, you dummy, you Dumbo bitch. Why do I sound like Alex Jones? So anyways, this year I still set a reading goal. I want to read 30 books this year, and I'm very excited. I'm reading Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid right now. And I've got so many books on my stack that I'm so excited to read. I want to read Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. I still need to read What My Mother and I Don't Talk About, which I've had on my bookshelf for so long, and I have wanted to read it so much because stories about mother-daughter relationships just get me fucking going. I want to read Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski. I want to reread You're Having a Good Time by Amy Barradale. I read this in college, and I remember really liking it, but I do not remember it anymore. So I was like, you know what? Sounds like a good time to reread that. And then, of course, I really want to read Sex and Rage by Eve Babbitt, which I was gonna start over my break, and then I just never did, and then I started Malibu Rising instead. So, listen, we've got so much to look forward to this year. So much reading to be done. But whether or not I hit this random number that I set for myself for books that I'm gonna read actually does not matter. It's the habit that counts. Reading more. The pursuit of knowledge. So one of my other big goals for myself this year is actually to host a dinner party once a month for the entire year. I threw my first dinner party back in November and made a whole video about the entire process top to bottom. So if you're interested in hosting it all, go watch that video. But I enjoyed it so much, had so much fun that back in November, I was like, I want to do this every month. So I threw in December, and then I was like, well, let's just make it a goal for the new year to throw a dinner party every single month. Some of them can be more extravagant than others. They all just have to have a fun little theme. So the theme for tonight's dinner party is a book swap. So I invited some of my friends over that I know like to read. Everyone brings a book that they have loved in the last
year, recent memory, and they're gonna leave with a new book picked out from someone else. So I already wrapped my book and put it at the table, but the book that I'm bringing is Writers and Lovers by Lily King, which was my favorite book that I read last year, and I think that all of my friends should read that book. It was just so fucking adorable and fun, and I loved it. So I've got like an hour until people get here. Right now I've got the table setting all set up. I've got my fireplace ambiance going. Got a jazz playlist queued up, and now I just have to do the thing that the dinner party is dependent upon, which is cooking. Today I'm just doing penne alla vodka, and we're doing a little olive oil dip, olive oil balsam dip to start. So this is very easy for me, and I'm having a lot of fun.
So I think taking a step back from looking at it strictly from like the resolution, goal setting, this time of year perspective, and how we can turn ourselves into self-improvement projects that way, I want to focus specifically on our inner healing journeys and how we sometimes start treating that like a self-improvement project, because that's what I think I'm the most guilty of personally. I think it's very easy to start seeing your healing journey as a self-improvement project, and it's not your fault necessarily, right? Like it all comes down to like, you know, your healing journey is just you wanting to be able to look and recognize past traumas, recognize certain beliefs that you have about yourself, about the world that are wrong or that aren't serving you, and reflect on how you can heal from those memories, from those beliefs, change them into something that is healthier and serves you and your present self better. You know, for me, there appears to be like a marker of when I was consciously going through a healing journey. I think we're always healing, right? Whether or not you consciously know it, whether or not you are consciously healing, I think we are always learning, growing. Opinions are changing. We're being given new experiences that heal parts of us that feel like, you know, you don't always have to be like, I'm healing in order to heal. That's the point that I'm making. But I think that once I became aware of like life can be better, and you become like you're outside looking in, like looking at yourself bird's eye view, and you see like from myself now to 2 years ago, I've changed so much, and I feel so much better on the inside. Like I just feel happier, more content with my life. I feel like I feel more solid in myself, like I can really rely on me, and that gives me like a great sense of comfort. You know, I'm in therapy. I'm doing a lot of healing work with professionals. It's not just like I'm going through life and I'm healing that way. It's like I'm in therapy and I'm doing work over there as well. And it's like, obviously I talk a lot about my emotions on the internet. My whole life feels like it's like feelings. Let's talk about them, because I like talking about them, but also I do it a lot anyways. It just feels like it's in my nature to be like in my feelings all the fucking time. Because I'm like that, there is an opportunity there for me to get carried away and just start like seeing myself as something to like tick boxes off of. Oh, I found a new little memory, a little bucket of trauma in here. Let's focus on that and scrub that one clean. And then when you realize it's not that easy, or it's not always that like, oh, well, it's over and done and it's never coming back. Like, I think most of us know that that's not how it works, or we consciously know that's not how it works. But then in practice, sometimes you're like, I thought that I was done with that and it was over and I was never going to deal with it again. But that's not how it works. And then you start feeling bad about it, and you're going back to like, well, I have to fix this right now. I have to change this about myself. I have to feel this type of way. I have to get rid of this, you know, subconscious belief I have about myself because I know it's wrong. And my therapist calls me out for this shit all the time too, because I'm like, God damn it. It's so easy to want to just like put myself into like a to-do list and be like, this thing that I struggle with in dating, let's work on erasing it forever. And if it ever comes back up again, I'm going to beat the shit out of myself. But you are not a self-improvement project. Your healing will not be linear, and your healing doesn't always have to be you sitting down, like getting to work on yourself. Like sometimes literally all you have to do is lean into radical self-compassion. That is all you need to do. You don't need to do anything else besides be really fucking nice, gentle, and understanding towards yourself. And, you know, one of my favorite people to follow on the internet, Kendra Austin, has posted a few times about exactly what I'm talking about right now, viewing your healing as a self-improvement project and how that's out. But she's also posted a video that I loved recently about self-compassion and how being very compassionate with yourself sort of helps you remove yourself from the idea that you have to fit inside a box very neatly. You stop caring about needing to know exactly who you are at all times. And you accept that there is no neat or, set in stone way to see yourself. When you are super compassionate with yourself, you feel less drawn to doing that. And you feel more comfortable just sitting in yourself as you are and accepting that, like, this is who I am. And, time will change me, life will change me. But, like, I'm good sitting here. I don't need to know all the answers. It's not possible. I don't need to. I don't need to try to. And you feel a lot more comfortable just letting yourself be. So anyways, all of that just to say that when we're talking about our healing journeys, when we're talking about the inner workings of our brain and our heart and just everything that we're moving through as people, it's important to learn to let yourself sit in those things rather than constantly looking for a solution or a way out or the next stage of your human existence and always working and pushing yourself towards that. Obviously, a lot of us are doing active healing work in therapy, and that's fantastic, but there's no timeline on these things, and you don't need to be doing anything besides being super fucking compassionate towards yourself, and the rest will fall into place. So all of that to say, you are not a perpetual self-improvement project. And I know this time of year it feels hard not to set these New Year's resolutions that you know are going to be impossible to stick to because everyone else is doing that. And you start to believe that you have to do XYZ in order to reach your highest potential, whatever that looks like, when in reality, I think a lot of us would be so much better served if we just focused on how we want to feel and what do we love doing, what brings us closest to that feeling, and how can we invite more of that into our lives. Focusing on your healing is great. Setting goals is great. Using either of those things to punish yourself is not great. So please tell me in the comments what your guiding word is for this year. Tell me how you want to feel this year and how you are going to best go about taking care of yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm so glad to be back. You have no idea. I missed you guys so much. Don't get me wrong. I loved my little break, and I'm going to talk more about the break itself and deleting TikTok, probably never going back to TikTok on the podcast. Emotionally Online Pod comes back this week. And Love Island is back, so obviously we're talking about that. So I'd love to see you guys over there. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you for giving me the coolest job in the world that allows me to take a month off work. What an absolute privilege that is, and thank you so much for giving me that. I love you guys so much. I'm so excited to be back, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye.